Things are now ready to start getting interesting in F1 Manager 24 for my series of the grid is different every race, or whatever I'm calling this series. So this is the normal grid that we had for the first race in Bahrain, but now we've had those results. The all order has been mixed around. This is the new order based on how I'm doing this, where I'm basically swapping the drivers in the championship with whatever car the other person opposite to them is driving. So this race, Max Verstappen is in a Williams, Charles Leclerc is in a Sauber. We've got Lando Norris at Haas, Sergio Perez at Alpine alongside Carlos Sainz, Oscar Piastri, the other driver at Williams, so that's the team we're looking after, Lewis Hamilton in the Sauber, George Russell in a Haas, Fernando Alonso still in an Aston Martin, Ricciardo still in an RB. We then have Tsunoda still in an RB and Stroll still in an Aston Martin. Those drivers all kind of just swap seats with each other. Hulkenberg and Bottas at Mercedes. We've got Sargent in a McLaren, Pierre Gasly in a Ferrari, Esteban Ocon at Red Bull, Kevin Magnussen at McLaren, Zhou Guanyu at Ferrari, and Alexander Albon at Red Bull. So that is the grid for this next race in Saudi Arabia. After Albon's crash in Bahrain, his car has to have a bunch of new bits put on it, so we're gonna put all the bits we need to on this car. By the way, the reason why the Aston Martin drivers and the RB drivers are in the same teams this race is because they literally finished, like, I think it was 9, 10, like I think it was Alonso 9th, then it was Ricciardo 10th, Tsunoda 11th, and Stroll 12th. So they've kind of just ended up switching with each other, which means that they're all in the same teams that they were before. However, they have switched cars. So Fernando Alonso is now in car 1, and Ricciardo's in car 2, or whichever way around that is. I can't quite remember. It shouldn't really make a difference, but you know, if a specific car has specific upgrades, that driver's now going to have that car instead of their other car. These are the race targets for us, so we're actually going for P10 for Verstappen, because I think if we're going to score points at Williams at this point in the season, before we've done big upgrades and stuff, he's the best option. He is the best driver ratings wise in this game, so if we're going to score points, it's going to be with him surely. And he's also got the new underfloor on his car. So, of course, his car is the one with the underfloor. The only underfloor we have available is for Verstappen's car. So, Piastri does not have that upgrade yet. I don't believe so anyway. I think it's just that upgrade. Pretty sure. Or maybe there was another upgrade. I can't quite remember. But basically, Verstappen does have an advantage on the upgrades for this race, because we didn't quite have enough to put one on Piastri as well. End of Q1 here, and Verstappen, well, actually both our drivers are safe, 12th and 14th, and we're looking pretty good, to be honest. Both Saubers, even with the caliber of drivers that are Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc, they're still currently P19 and 20, showing how bad that Sauber is. We end up getting through. Verstappen actually manages to get into the top 10. Ocon quickest in Q1. Piastri only just makes it through in P14, but yeah, both Saubers down the bottom, both Alpines out as well, and Lance Stroll on the Aston Martin. Quite disappointing for him to be out in Q1. We go to Q2, and Piastri is the first car out for us. He crosses the line, goes P2, almost a second behind Norris in the Haas, so not the best pace for Piastri here. He was quite a bit slower than Verstappen on that first qualifying session, and he's now 2 seconds behind Bottas, who's gone quickest in the Mercedes. Bottas making his triumphant return to Mercedes here in this second race of the season. Verstappen crosses the line. He goes much quicker, 8:10. He goes over about 1.2 seconds quicker than Piastri. So Piastri did not have a good lap. And as we now head on to our final flying laps of Q2, Verstappen is right on the brink, right there in 11th position. Piastri is sitting 15th, 2.8 seconds off the pace. He needs a better lap here, just to get further up the grid, really, if possible. Verstappen, I don't know, we'll have to wait and see. Can he make it through to Q3? Because we have a few little outliers. I mean, Hulkenberg's down in P14. I expect him to jump up in the Mercedes. Don't know about everybody else, a little bit unknown for everyone else. We've got Sargent and Magnussen up there in the McLaren, which is a good car, as I think that was Norris goes has a better time, up to P6. So Norris in a Haas, both Haas drivers actually currently in the top 10. Russell there in P10, currently on the brink. But as we continue on, Verstappen now in P12, he is improving on this lap. It's a green sectors 1 and 2. So he is improving on this lap. So how much is he improving by though? He needs just over 4/10 improvement. That might now be a little bit more, as I believe that was... who was that getting a better time? I think that might have been one of the Ferraris just getting a better time in there. As now, Verstappen's actually been pushed down to 14th. He's on a better lap. He's going to cross the line. It's going to be up to 13th for Verstappen. But then Magnussen goes better and pushes Verstappen now down to 14th again. So P14 is as good as Verstappen's going to do here. So now the question is, can Piastri beat Verstappen in quali? Verstappen is out in Q2. I think Piastri is going to be out as well. He's on a better lap here. Green first and second sector for him as well. But the question is, can he beat Max Verstappen in this quali session? He crosses the line and no, but it is ridiculously close. It is less than half a tenth between the two of them. It's P14 and P15 for our Williams drivers. Quite disappointing that, to be honest. I mean, Albon did better when he was in the Williams last race, so unfortunate to not make it through. In the end, after Q3, Esteban Ocon goes quickest. He will be starting this race on pole position from Logan Sargent, who surprisingly finishes P2. Very surprised about that. So yeah, that is the top 10. Yuki Tsunoda up there in P6. Very good result for him.
The drivers are getting ready here at the Jeddah Corniche circuit, preparing for 50 flat-out laps under the lights.
Jeddah street circuit certainly makes the high speeds of F1 racing a thrilling affair. But even a world champion can be caught out in between the narrow walls, just as Max Verstappen found out in 2021.
The Jeddah street circuit has one of the fastest average speeds, as well as the most corners of any track on the calendar. Good high-speed downforce is going to make life in the fast lane a little easier for drivers here this weekend.
Right, so here is our strategy. Same strategy for both drivers, softs to hards. That's just what we're going to go for here. See what they can do. Yeah, let's go.
The anticipation is really building here. The fans in attendance are absolutely buzzing with excitement. And Alex Albon will know just what kind of drive will be expected of him here.
5th place is a good starting point for them. Where can they go from here?
So let's see what today has in store, shall we? It's almost time for the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix.
Here we go to 5 red lights for the Saudi Grand Prix. Esteban Ocon on pole position in the Red Bull. Both our drivers P14 and 15. And let's get going down to turn 1. Looks like Sargent not had the best start. Already under pressure from Pierre Gasly, as our two drivers are side by side. Piastri trying to get past Verstappen, which is not what I expected. Piastri is actually now ahead. Piastri is ahead of Verstappen, but I think Verstappen, yes he is, he's diving up the inside back into the next corner and has just gotten back past his teammate, and he's now complaining that he's been pushed wide by his own teammate. So already 1 or 2 corners in, and our teammates of Verstappen and Piastri are already having a little bit of a go at each other. That's not great, but Piastri's already starting to fall back a little bit now actually, so maybe just a poor start for Verstappen. We'll continue on. Ocon still leads the race, but it's from Gasly now in 2nd place. Albon's up to P4 in the other Red Bull as well. So exciting stuff going on there. Like I said, Tsunoda in P6 qualifying there, very good for him, and Alonso I think qualified in P4, so great qualifying result for him in the Aston, as Gasly is hampering Ocon a little bit here, showing some good pace in that Ferrari. So, and we're now going to see a replay of Carlos Sainz in the Alpine, who is having a look on Piastri, and he's going to dive down the inside into the very long hairpin at the end of the, or kind of the very end of the circuit, and Sainz in relief and gets past our teammate. This is Verstappen getting past, I believe, Ricciardo in the RB. Nice move for Verstappen there, getting on his old teammate of Daniel Ricciardo back in the Red Bull days when Ricciardo was there. This is then an onboard of Piastri going back down the inside of Sainz, getting back past him again after he was overtaken by him a lap or so ago. So he will be happy to get that move done, but he's down in P16. Now down to P15 with Verstappen in P13, and he is, well, no, actually it's a fight at the front between Ocon and Gasly, of course, the two French drivers currently in real life, both at Alpine in 2024. They're now fighting it out for the lead of this Grand Prix in Red Bull and Ferrari. So this is exciting, and Gasly is all over the back of Ocon, and he dives up the inside, and that is now Pierre Gasly into the lead of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix in the Ferrari. Can Ocon come back at him with DRS though, down to turn 1? That is the nature of this track, and sure enough, he's going to go to the inside. Gasly hasn't really defended at all here. Ocon down the inside. Gasly, though, will fight it through turn 1 and will brake later and get back past Ocon again, as we now have a look at Daniel Ricciardo, who's managed to get a move back on our driver of Max Verstappen. Verstappen kind of boxed in by the Haas of, I believe that's George Russell, up ahead, and Ricciardo gets past. Now Verstappen has Piastri right behind him once again. Hopefully that doesn't get too wild. Looks like he is defending already from his teammate. However, he will eventually bridge out a second or more gap on Piastri, and now Verstappen's actually looking to get past George Russell, who boxed him in before to let Ricciardo pass, who's actually kind of waltzed on up the road now, but Verstappen does manage to get past Russell. We now have Verstappen trying to get past Kevin Magnussen, who's fallen back quite a bit in the McLaren here. He's now outside the top 10. I don't know, he's just not had a very good start here. Sargent beating him is very unusual. Sainz and Stroll now having a bit of side-by-side action, and Stroll gets pushed into the wall by Gasly. A little bit unfortunate there. I wouldn't say that was necessarily anyone's fault, just, you know, getting squeezed into the wall, as now it's the two Red Bulls up front. They've managed to now gap Gasly, who's 3.5 seconds behind them. Albon has had a great few laps here, and he's stormed into the lead of the race, getting past Ocon. And now they will head down to turn 1. Ocon's going to come back at him though with the DRS, and I don't think Albon's going to be able to fight that. No, he's not. Ocon back up into the lead, but it is a Red Bull 1-2 here now, as Gasly's actually now under fire from Logan Sargent in the McLaren, who's quietly having a pretty good race here, to be completely honest with you. I did not expect Sargent to do very well in the McLaren. We'll have a look at Verstappen again, who makes a move back on, I believe, Daniel Ricciardo again, or that might actually be Yuki Tsunoda, who's fallen down the order a bit. So he's now up to P11 for Max Verstappen, so he's now steering right down the at the back of the points, with Norris actually, well, Ricciardo and Norris, the cars behind, but now there is a VSC, there's a virtual safety car. Strolls into the pits, just seeing if there's anything. It's Gasly. It's Pierre Gasly, who was fighting for a podium position in the Ferrari, and he has crashed out of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. Let's have a look at this. He's fighting with Logan Sargent over P3, and as they head into this corner, Sargent just doesn't stop the car and punts him into the wall, just very similar to what we saw happen with Albon and Magnussen last time out in Bahrain. This time it's Gasly and Sargent having contact, and Gasly is out of the race. We also then later on see Yuki Tsunoda getting back on Max Verstappen down this straight here, just a breezes round the outside, and that is Yuki Tsunoda back up into the top 10. So Verstappen currently just kind of flirting with these positions. We now have a look at Magnussen, who is also going to get past Verstappen as well. So Verstappen's starting to struggle, I think, now on these used soft tyres, and Magnussen gets past in the McLaren up into P11, so not into the top 10 as of yet. We're now going to have a little look at our strategy, because the tyres are wearing faster than expected, and I've decided that, you know what, we're going to go for a 2-stop with Verstappen. We're going to go onto a set of mediums. There are a few other drivers that are also doing that, so I thought that's why we're going to go for it. We're going to keep Piastri on the 1-stop, but put Verstappen on a 2-stop. Verstappen came in for his pit stop. I missed it on the live feed, so we're not going to see that. This is then Piastri coming in for his stop onto the hard compound tyres. He will be going providing nothing else happens to the end on these tyres. So he's going to fall right down towards the back of the grid, but he will now be going to the end. Verstappen's still potentially fighting for some points in this race. Now has Sargent ahead of him as Ocon comes into the pits for a set of hard tyres. So I think one of the Red Bulls is doing a 2-stop, one of the Red Bulls is doing a 1-stop. I believe that's what's happening. So Ocon, I believe, is on a 2-stop and Albon is on, Albon's on a 2-stop, Ocon's on a 1-stop. I think that's how it's going because Albon's onto another set of soft tyres. Or is he on mediums? No, sorry, he's on mediums. So yeah, definitely a 2-stop for Albon. Potentially a 1-stop for Ocon. So we'll have to see how that plays out. We then have this massive gaggle of cars here with Verstappen involved, along with Russell, Sargent. Hulkenberg is just behind these guys in the Aston Martin as well. In the Mercedes. So it's a big old gaggle of cars going on at the back end of the top 10 here. I let Verstappen push because he gets past Sargent and now he gets past Russell as well. And I think Sargent is now going for a move on Russell too. And we have a look at the move from the onboard camera here. I think this is actually the move on Sargent specifically that it's showing me. However, we are going to just about see the move get done on Russell as well. Then we see Piastri trying to make this 1-stop work. He breezes around the outside of Carlos Sainz. A lot of overtaking with Piastri and Sainz this race. Lovely stuff, says Piastri. Good to see him making some moves, although I think he does actually lose that position again pretty quickly. Although maybe not. He's 3.3 seconds ahead, so I think he has actually managed to make that stick. There is now a safety car out, though. There is a safety car. It's Logan Sargent. Sargent's had another crash. He knocked Gasly out of this race, and now as they head down here, he just spins it into the wall, and he's damaged the car. I don't know if he's out. Not sure if he's... They're saying that he comes away unharmed. I don't know if that means the car or if that just means him in general. If he is unharmed, because he's out of this race. But that is going to help us with this 2-stop. We're now going to come into the pits for our last pit stop onto another set of soft compound tyres. It is a scrubbed set of softs, I believe. We have used them in quali, but that pit stop could really help us out here. We're going to come out of the pits in 7th place. So we're now fairly firmly in the points here, looking pretty good. And as we go to green with 15 laps to go, Albon will lead the grid away with Ocon behind. Zhou has managed to get up to 3rd in the Ferrari, and he's having a look actually at Ocon into turn 1, and then it's Bottas in P4 from Alonso, and then Verstappen, who is going for a move and has made the move on Kevin Magnussen and is up into P6. Both of our drivers are in the top 10 now. Verstappen P6, Piastri P9. We are both in the top 10 here, so we'll have to... But I feel like this is not going to go well for Piastri though, because now he's on old hards and everybody else pretty much has gone onto new tyres, so maybe we should have split the strategy up with Piastri. The battle at the front continues though, as Ocon is fighting with Albon as they head round the final corner and down the main straight. And Albon is past, but now Ocon will have DRS and will once again look up the inside of his Red Bull teammates into turn 1, try and get later on the brakes and get past Albon. Albon tries to fight it though out of that corner. Ocon though is through. He's on medium compound tyres now, but they're fresh medium compound tyres, so he's making good use of those. Piastri is also making moves in this race, although kind of backwards and then forwards a little bit, because he now gets past one of the Hasses of, I believe, George Russell to go to like 12th. But as you can see now, he's P16, and unfortunately Piastri is falling down the order. There's too much going on here for me to keep up with. Albon's got back into the lead, back past Ocon again. Bottas is now up to P3 ahead of Zhou. It looks like it is a 4-car race for the win here in these closing laps. Piastri is now down to P18 and last in this race, as Leclerc just overtook him in the Sauber. So Piastri's not having a good time. As we now have a look at another incident. This is Lance Stroll, who's had a few spins and issues, and he goes into the wall. He just does not turn the car into the wall. It's another crash this race. This time it's Lance Stroll. Oh, terrible stuff for Lance Stroll and Aston Martin. He's now out of the race as well. Piastri in the end has managed to just about get ahead of Leclerc, but as we look around the final corner, Albon has just put the move back on Ocon again, and as they head to the line, it's gonna be close, but in the end it will be Alexander Albon who's gonna win this Grand Prix. He finished dead last in Bahrain. We didn't finish at all because of that contact he had when he got crashed out of the race from Magnussen. He will win this race with Red Bull though.
Albon has taken first.
I don't think anyone could be disappointed with a race like that. A consummate professional through and through.
What a result for Alexander Albon to win this race from his teammates. And across the line, Magnussen just pips Verstappen to P9. It's 0.000 seconds. They literally finished dead on exactly next to each other, but it gave it to Magnussen for P9. Verstappen does come home with 1 point though, and Leclerc's managed to get past Piastri, but as we head down towards turn 1, Piastri's going to try and make a move, and the same thing happens. 0.000, but this time it's Piastri over Leclerc.
Red Bull Junior team driver who continues to fly high.
It's a really emotional moment to be up there celebrating your first win.
And finally now the drivers can relax after an eventful weekend at the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix.
Awesome work from Albon there to take the win from Esteban Ocon. It is a Red Bull 1-2. It is something that Perez did not manage to do in Bahrain. And Bottas comes home for P3. He's returned to Mercedes and he's back on the podium again. Zhou Guan Yu, a pretty good P4 for him. Alonso P5. Ricciardo manages P6. So the two RBs kind of switched around because Tsunoda was up there in the top 6 at one point, but he fell back. In the Drivers' Championship though, Verstappen still leads the way by 1 point to Alexander Albon. It is Verstappen on 26 points, still leading the championship after round 2. Even though he was in the Williams, he scored that 1 point. And in last place in the championship is Pierre Gasly, because he crashed out here and he had a non-points finish in Bahrain. So it is going to be Gasly and Verstappen switching for next round in Australia, which means that Verstappen's going to be in a Ferrari for Australia, so that could give him a good result. And in the Constructors, Red Bull are leading by a considerable margin, almost double the points of Ferrari, and Williams finally on the board with 1 point. But anyway, that's it for this video, guys. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.